Welcome to another episode of Throne Mastermind Sessions. The session is beginning. All members are now expected to assume position on their throne.
Greetings, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Throne Mastermind Sessions. This is the one, the only Eli Marcus. It's so good to be back on this platform, to be back on this channel, to deliver this message. Today's topic is called Custom Make Your Own Kingdom. And I decided to also add that this would be Kingdom Principles Part 2. I've taught on Kingdom Principles a few weeks ago, so if you haven't already, please do check out that live. We're also going to do a Q&A, so I'm going to lecture a little bit, and then I'm going to allow people who would like to come on the live to ask me a question. They're welcome to do that, and we can have a conversation. So today's topic is Kingdom Principles, and it's about custom making your own kingdom. I'm going to lecture on how and why it's important to either be a member in a kingdom that matches your personal values or to custom make your own kingdom. Kingdoms, in the context of this topic, simply means a tribal organization with value producing operations, laws, and values to advance its members with more desirable experiences, privileges, and safety from predators or threats in the open market. Today, I'm going to touch on people who are not a part of a successful and righteous kingdom belong to the public. I'm sorry, let me repeat that. I wrote this down and it's kind of the words, the sentences are a little bit choppy here. So I'm going to touch on people who are not a part of a successful and righteous kingdom belong to the public and are made into human bots and indentured servants at the mercy of predatory entities in the open market. So if you're not in the kingdom, you're going to be made into a human bot and indentured servant. If you were not born into a kingdom, you are automatically groomed into a human bot or indentured servant. We will also discuss the polarity of how a kingdom can both be heaven on earth for its members and yet experienced as a predatory organization to weaken markets outside the kingdom. Let's get into it. And I want you to keep in mind, a kingdom, in the way that I'm using the term today, it can be a successful family, a thriving, successful family. It could be a culture. It could be a certain religious sect. It could be a corporation, like a really successful corporation. But a kingdom is an organization that, because you belong to that kingdom, a kingdom can even be a country, by the way, because you belong to that kingdom, you are granted certain extreme privileges. Your life has increased. The quality of your life has increased because you belong to that kingdom. You are a member within that kingdom. But I want to talk about how you can custom make your own kingdom, especially in the modern society and in the global marketplace, and the consequences of not belonging to a kingdom, not being born into one or not creating one yourself, because it can get tricky. Many people who have never experienced the privilege of being covered by an organization that feels like a kingdom, that makes them feel very privileged to be a part of that organization. All they know is indentured servitude. All they know is human botism. All they know is the open market. They can't even conceive the privileges of belonging to a kingdom or the way a kingdom operates, the customs of a kingdom, the protocols of a kingdom, and why those protocols and customs should be respected. Because if you disrespect it, You energetically divorce yourself from the covering of the kingdom, and then you belong to the open market. And we see many groups in the open market. When you think of the open market, I want you to think about the jungle. I want you to think about the wilderness, just like out there exposed, and you're exposed to all sorts of predators and threats, lions, tigers, and bears, and all sorts of beasts, all sorts of predators are out there in the open market when you're exposed. And those predators are looking for prey. This is nature, ladies and gentlemen. This is nature. And just because we're human beings does not mean we're excluded from nature. Just because we live in a modern society and modern civilization does not mean that you are excluded from nature. So I want to get you to the basics of how nature works and why you should move within a certain principle. Because if you don't, you are exposed to predators, all sorts of predators. It doesn't matter if these predators are racist. It doesn't matter if these predators are sexist. It doesn't matter if these predators look just like you. They come from your exact same culture. They're ideological predators. There are corporate predators that's looking for you for their own gain. And they have their own agenda of how they intend on using your humanity once they catch you alone in the open marketplace, exposed and without the ability to protect yourself. We want to talk about how people who are not covered by the kingdom, they are sort of like ambushed and forced into joining certain ideologies, groups, extremist ideas. They're putting, when they go into the school system or they go to college, they go to the universities, and they're just exposed, and they have no culture. They don't have a strong family. They have no ism. They are taken up by ideological predators and groomed into it, because without it, they have no covering. They have no friends. They have no network. So they exchange their humanity for the illusion or for the perception of covering. This is why many daughters of families, they go to some of these colleges and they come out extremist feminists, or some of these boys who didn't have a father in the home. They get turned out into the gang life, or they get turned out into other ideologies because they cannot survive. They don't even have the privilege to exercise their natural masculine instincts, because the open market ain't tolerating that shit from boys, especially when you're just exposed and you have no covering, you have no backup, you have no ism, you have nothing that is protecting you. You got nowhere to run. So what do you do when you push children, when you push your adult children into the world as adults with no covering, with no ism, with none of that, with nothing that's backing them when they need backing? I'm talking about true backing. Because all they're going to do is get turned out to something. And the reason why they sell their soul and allow themselves to be turned out to that something, it's human nature. It's for friends. It's for friendship. It's for connection. It's for, okay, I'm a part of, because if they're not that, if they're not whatever the ideological predators want them to be, if they're not on their side politically, if they're not on their side with their different opinions about things, with everything that these people want to change about the world, they will be attacked. They will be attacked ruthlessly. They won't even have the ability to support their livelihood. They will be harassed. They will be stalked. They will be hunted down, and their humanity will be ripped apart. Lies will be told about them. Their flaws will be exaggerated. They cannot survive in the open market unless they decide to join one of the ideological predators' team. It reminds me of the prison system. Everyone knows that when people go to prison, most of the time you got to join a gang. You have to join a gang. You got to pick a side. They make you join a gang, because if you don't join a gang, then you kind of open to any people gonna get to you, especially male prisons. If you don't join a gang, then you're more likely to be violated. You're more likely to be a mark. Because all the gang leaders, even if it's a white supremacist over here and it's the black gang over here and it's the Mexican gang over there, they actually have an understanding with each other on who they can use as a mark and who's off basis. Like, don't touch that person. They're part of my crew. If you touch them, if you violate them, then you have to deal with all of us. That's kind of the rules in the prison system. So if you're just out there exposed and you have no backup, you have no support, it don't matter how big you are, it don't matter how strong you are, none of that matters. You will be made into a mark, and you're more likely to be violated. That's the same way it works in the open society, in the open market. And I want people to understand that. People don't think that deeply about things. Most people don't think that deeply. They think the world is just this place where everyone is just friendly, and it looks like that on the surface, but we are social creatures. And when there's a nature to things, and when you allow your children, or anyone for that matter, to just be out here and exposed with no backing, with no kingdom that's protecting them, with no ism, with no privileges, with no course of action for how they can support themselves, for how they can defend themselves, they are bullied into joining one of the prison gangs, so to speak. They are bullied into it. And they don't even realize that they're being bullied into it. All they know is it's like being at the first day of school. It's like, oh my God, all these people against me. And these are the options on the menu. And I need to join one of these groups. And if I don't, I'm going to be isolated. This is why I have so much support for organizations and families that reflect kingdom principles. Oh man, when you see those type of people, those young adults who come out of those types of families, they have a different aura about them. They have actual self-esteem, confidence. They're not easily intimidated. You can't force an idea down their throat because they have a kingdom at home. And if they don't like it there in that environment, they can easily change it up. In fact, when they get into the environment, they're hanging around other people who understand kingdom principles by default. They make themselves invisible to the vagabonds of the marketplace, those types of networks that are just chaotic and crazy and that are extremists in their ideas. They get to make themselves invisible to that and have their own network of kingdom principle and kingdom-minded people. It actually happens energetically. It happens naturally. There's no secret meeting that's going on. It's just people of the kingdom principle think and move a certain way. And people who are just exposed and they have no backing, they have no kingdom protocol, they don't have that type of coding, they think and move a certain way. And they all end up just around people who are of like minds. Glory. This is good. I want to talk about kingdom principles and how to have the aura of a kingdom-minded person, how to custom make your own kingdom with your own ideas and your own laws and what is allowed. Now, one of the things that's very important in order to create a kingdom and to custom make your own kingdom is you got to produce value in a marketplace. You got to produce value in a marketplace. You got to be able to generate money to support the kingdom. Why? Because money buys protection. Money buys privileges. When someone calls you with an emergency and they're a part of your tribe, they're part of your family, your brotherhood, your sisterhood, when you got a whole lot of money, you can get them out of almost any situation. When you got the money. When you have the right lawyers on retainer, when you know the legal system, when you know the politicians in the community that you live in, or whatever the situation is, however unique that it is, when you have money, you have access to the right people. It doesn't matter if you have a child calling you because they failed the class. Oh my God, I failed the class and my GPA is going to get lost. The people who got money, they have different options than the people who don't have money. And that's just a fact of life. And I'm not saying this from a place of, being condescending. I'm just teaching on principles. Nor am I saying this from a place of trying to suggest anything about me or my positioning. I don't talk about things like that. I'm just stating a fact of life. In order to create, custom make your own kingdom, you got to generate money. You got to generate capital. You have to have that in order to have a kingdom that's worthy, that's successful, and that can actually afford to give the members in that kingdom, in that tribe, certain privileges. Now, when you think about the type of world that you want to live in, I'm about to cure a lot of y'all, because a lot of y'all are going crazy over these wars. You're going crazy over the issues in the country, United States, or whatever issue is going on in your country, whatever domestic issues, whatever civil issues that are going on, the popular social hot topics that's triggering you. Get that out of your mind, because let me tell you something. There will always be chaos in the open market. It doesn't matter what timeline you look in. It doesn't matter what part of history you examine. There will always be chaos in the open market. There will always be chaos, just like the wilderness, just like the jungle, with the lions and tigers and bears. They hunt each other all day long, predator and prey all day long. Utter chaos happens in the open market. You have people who are predators in the open market. Men, women, white, black, all of them are predators. Even the children, if they're out there, there's a lot of them that are predatory in nature because they have to be in order to survive. They learn those customs, those predatory customs, in the condition of their environment. So repeat after me. There will always be chaos and destruction in the open market. If you want safety, you got to create your own safe place, and the safest place is the kingdom. The safest place is the kingdom. So stop going around looking for issues in the open market to be stressed out about, to be angry about, and to protest, because there will always be chaos in the open market. Now, who exists in the open market that has no protection, has no covering, has no kingdom, has no backing? Weak tribes, fallen families, fallen men, people who are born into a fallen family or a fallen tribe, a fallen institution. Those are the people who are left in the open market without true covering, true protection. And because they're exposed and they're around a bunch of predators, they adopt a chaotic and destructive nature, even if it doesn't look like it. Some of them you can just tell by looking at them and by examining their behavior that way. And then some of them are more passive with it. They're more passive aggressive and indirect with their chaos and their destruction and their lack of values and principles and their thievery. But the open market creates those kind of barbaric monsters who are just out there surviving with no protection. It's just the nature of things. I'm not even going to say it's right or wrong. It's just the nature of things. It creates that kind of creature. It just does that. That's nature. The purpose of the kingdom is that you have mastered a set of principles. You have organized a set of people who are operating on a set of codes in order. You have defense systems in place to defend your people from threats. And if they find themselves in a situation outside of the kingdom, you have a whole system in place to protect them from afar. They have a network. The kingdom has a network of people who operate off of a system of codes and principles. Barbaric people don't have that. The predators in the open marketplace, they don't have that. Who have no covering, they don't have that. But the kingdom does. But the kingdom does. You see it all the time. That's why I have nothing bad to say about these religious groups that have really established themselves based on kingdom principles. I don't care if we're talking about the Jews. I don't care if we're talking about the Mormons. I don't care if we're talking about Scientology. I don't care if we're talking about the Catholic Church. I don't care what the topic is. They have established themselves based on kingdom principles. And because they've done that, they're in a position of strength and power to cover their immediate members. This is why people join their organization, for the covering. See, some people like to sit around all day and have ideological debates on if religion is true or not. It don't matter. You don't get that? If they can provide heaven on earth to its members, and even to members who join from the open marketplace because they want the covering, if they can provide them a little extra privileges, more privileges by joining an organization than not being a part of it, that's what matters. That's the game that's being played here in life. You understand? So the ideological debates don't freaking matter. That's not what's motivating people unconsciously. What's motivating people unconsciously is safety. I want safety. I want more safety, and I want more privilege, and I want to be covered. And I want to be a part of a group and a team where if I say I'm a part of this, I feel like it's going to give me a certain level of privilege. That's what people are unconsciously thinking, and that's why they join the groups that they join. And to me, that's okay. It's just nature. I got respect for them. I don't even have issue with the arguments that people make against so-called white supremacy or the system of it. Just because you're experiencing the predatory side of it doesn't mean that they didn't build their institution off kingdom principles. The question is, why are you in a position of weakness, and why are you caught up in a predator's mouth? How did that happen? Where did you go wrong? Security-wise, defense-wise, principle-wise, value-wise, family value-wise. Where did you go wrong? Where did your ancestors go wrong? Where you could not defend yourself against an opposing group or tribe. That's all that matters. All that victimhood talk, that is for the public vagabonds who don't have kingdom, who don't understand kingdom principles. You're just out here exposed. But it doesn't look that way, does it? Everybody looks so clean, and everybody looks a certain way. And here's the thing. People can have a social life or a cultural life where they're surrounded by many people, and they have a big culture, but all the people that's in their peer group are human bots and indentured servants, and they don't really share the same values, and they don't really move off the same code. They're just vagabonds around each other. They just happen to live in the same neighborhood, but they're not really, it's not a kingdom because it's randomness. They have different ideologies, different beliefs, different codes. So they're not really organized. They just happen to be there. They're still in the open market. And there are some people, you know, who could still live around them, but they actually have a culture. They have a network and a kingdom backing them that they're submitted to, that they've paid into. They're a taxpayer into a kingdom, into a system, meaning they're a contributor, a value producer. They have pledged their allegiance to something that has their back in case they need it. It's your responsibility to join that type of safe group or to create one yourself. The title tonight is Custom Make Your Own Kingdom, Kingdom Principles. You get to custom make your own kingdom. But what would be the foundation of your kingdom? What are the laws of your kingdom? What's the mission of your kingdom? What's allowed in your kingdom? How would you custom make your kingdom if you could? How much freedom do the people in your kingdom get to have? What are the rules of your kingdom? It doesn't have to be all rigid. You can party in the kingdom if that's what you like to do. If you like to party, you can add partying in the kingdom. You can party your way in the kingdom. You can have some shadows in your kingdom. The bottom line is the kingdom must survive the open marketplace. The kingdom must be established enough to defend itself against predators and threats. The kingdom must have the intelligence to align itself with alliances to help protect their interests. The kingdom must produce value. The kingdom must produce a certain level of wealth or value to sustain itself. The kingdom must recruit people. It must have other people who are part of the kingdom, contributing to the kingdom, have pledged their allegiance to the kingdom to help strengthen the network of the kingdom. We're talking about kingdom principles. This is why people join fraternities and sororities. They're trying to get a little bit of slice of that kingdom principle of the fraternal institution that they've joined. That's what they're really wanting unconsciously. In case they lose their job, they can just tap into their network in their fraternity, in their sorority, and they get one quicker because of the fraternity or sorority that they belong to. The hiring manager, the CEO, the executive is going to recommend them solely because of that, off the record. They won't say it on the record. It'll be off the record. A little bit more protection, a little bit more safety. So in that aspect of their life, they have kingdom principles in that way. You get to custom make your own kingdom. This is why people have certain alliances for that purpose. They bind to certain communities and certain tribes for that purpose, to enhance their ability to be in a position of strength in navigating their reality. Because when you don't have that, you're just exposed. So when you lose your job unexpectedly, you lose your career unexpectedly, or something happens and you have nothing to pull on because you don't have the right family, you didn't form the right relationships at your church or join the right religion. If you're into that, you didn't join the right fraternity or sorority, you didn't form the right brotherhood or sisterhood, you didn't fellowship and develop connections and relationship with the right families. But this is the game. This is how things work. This is why people who cherry pick all the chaos that's happening in the open market with wars or with racism and discrimination and all this other stuff, and it's happening in the open market. It's not happening anybody. It's happening in the open market. It's uncovered people. It's natural disaster of uncovered people. People who pretend to care so deeply about that are really disingenuous. Because the open market is expected to be disaster, chaos, predator, and prey. That's the game in the open market. It's going to always be there. The question is, how did those people end up in that position in the first place? Even if it is no direct fault of their own, what tree did they come from to end up in that position in the first place? Failed values and failed policies is why people end up in that position. It's just the nature of things. You may not think it's fair, but it's how things go. It's just what it is. It's life. And I would argue that it's designed that way because Spirit wants you to take your freedom and to take your health and to take your protection so serious that you are committed to and submitted to a set of code and values where energetically you ain't the one that gets eaten. You're not the one that's in the open market because you got the kingdom. The predators can't get to you like it can get to people in the open market because you got the kingdom. You got the walls and the barriers of the kingdom to protect you. You got the bodyguards and the guards of the kingdom to protect you. You have the territory of the kingdom to protect you. And the fact that you can energetically access that protection means that your character is already at a certain level. So says the hand of evolution, the hand of spirit. Regardless of how human beings might see you as flawed or might see you as discriminatory or might see you as so-called racist or whatever, the fact that you have access to protection of a kingdom means your character matches. You qualify for that protection. And when you don't have protection of the kingdom, I don't give a fuck who you think you are and how good you think, a good of a person you think you are. The reality you are forced to live is the highest measurement of truth. You are a chaotic human being who has the convenience of weakness to parade as your moral superiority, but it's not moral superiority. It's just weakness. If you had the power, you would abuse it. You abuse it so bad that you're in the position that you're in to protect the rest of society from experiencing your tyrannical behavior if you had access to more power. I'm talking about custom making your own kingdom, the importance of it. Because you can either custom make one or you can join one. Now, how would you make your kingdom if you were able to do so? What's your wildest dreams? What's your fantasy? How do you envision your life to be if you could choose it to be any way that you wanted it to be? What do you want? What would your day be like if you wanted any kind of way? Now find people who match those values, who match that vision, who match that, and collectively create something that protects you and that covers you on all levels. Think of all the protocols that you need to defend and advance and grow your kingdom principles based on the mission and the values that you have established. You can do this as a regular human being. You don't have to be wealthy, because we're talking about ideas. Kingdoms are built on ideas. What is your ideology in your kingdom? And how do you want to set that up? And how will you defend your rights and your values to do that? And how can you align with people who agree, who are in agreement with that, and they're willing to align with you, to recruit with you, to develop that? Stop randomly associating with human bots and indentured servants. That's not real. Those relationships are not real. They look real in 3D reality. You can look like you have a whole community and you got homies and you got sisters and it's all gravy, and you can look that way, but it's not real. Do you understand the risk of closely associating with a human bot? Nothing that comes out of their mouth is sincere. They're in survival mode. Nothing they say is real. Their loyalties are not real. Their preferences are not real. They're a bot. They're just saying things. And the moment that they're in a position where they have a better opportunity or whatever, or something, or they're psychologically hijacked, they change in a blink of an eye. They don't believe shit. They don't believe. They're just trying to survive. They're scared. So when you staff your life and your reality with human bots and indentured servants who have no covering, who have no kingdom, you're in a dangerous situation. It's like petting a wild lion. You're in a dangerous situation and you don't even know it. With enough propaganda and enough commercial or enough influence from an outside dominant force, they will change their mind in a blink of an eye and turn on you. That's just the way they're created. They're a bot. That's the way that they were programmed. If they were born into the open market, that's the way that they're conditioned. They have no values. They have no opinion. They pretend. Everything's pretend. So staff your life with people who are consciously willing to build with you and who understand the nature of reality and who understand why these things are necessary, why the kingdom is necessary, and who respects the kingdom. That type of person is going to have more integrity than a human bot. A human bot will gossip about you, stab you in the back. A human bot is just investigating, looking for an angle to gain some clout off of you. That's what a human bot does. Regardless of how it looks, regardless of what their social economic status appears, none of that matters. A bot is a bot. An indentured servant is an indentured servant. We're talking about kingdom principles. We're talking about kingdom principles. And many of you are confused because you staff your life with human bots and indentured servants. And you wonder why you can't get anything done. You wonder why you can't get support. Because you don't know their real thoughts. You don't know you don't know who you're talking to. You're not penetrating the consciousness of the people that you've decided to staff your life with. You're around a bunch of people who are in survival mode, who are in hell, in the valley of death, in the intimate cocoon of their consciousness. And your voice and you have no spiritual authority. You can't rely on nobody. People keep stabbing you in the back. People keep betraying you. That's because you're not moving with kingdom principles. There's only one way to move in this world, and that's with kingdom principles. And if we are part of the same kingdom and we decide to be allies, we adhere to a certain set of codes. I don't care what I know about you. I will not make you look weak to other people. I don't care if you tripped. I don't care if you failed. I will not expose you to the outside marketplace, because everyone in kingdom principles understand that they live by the same code. They have a code of conduct that they live by as it relates to the people that they rock with, their peer group, their tribal group. And that's what keeps them strong, because they understand if I make you look weak, or if I help outsiders get to you, it weakens the kingdom and it weakens the privileges that I have. At some point, they're going to come for me next after they get you. Human bots, indentured servants, and vagabonds in the open market, they have not reached that very logical conclusion. They're just primal, animalistic people. It's just the truth. Even if they don't look like they are, even if they look real civil and educated and all that, none of that shit is true. Because they don't understand kingdom principles. They haven't evolved to the level of understanding kingdom principles and why you should submit yourself to a code and honor the code at all times with your brothers and your sisters and your allies. A bot is an opportunist. And if you can't identify a bot, then you probably a bot yourself. You should never be so desperate for connection that you allow yourself to be compromised by human bots and indentured servants in the open market who have no kingdom principles. Glory. Thank you all for listening. We're now going to get into the Q&A. If you have a question, a comment, you're more than welcome to type it in the comments section. If you're listening, I really want to get this word out. I really want to encourage people to pursue custom making their own kingdom or joining a kingdom that's in alignment with their personal values. That's what this is really about. What are your personal values? What matters to you? And consciously, openly, be very brutally honest about that, and create and organize your life based on the true principles of who you are and what's important to you. However that looks to you. That is intelligent. Stop just keeping your values to yourself. Stop. You know what you want, but you're not saying it. And stop playing these games with these bots and these indentured servants and these predatory entities. Stop social politicking with them. Some of these people are demons and low down, and they don't have your best interests at heart, but y'all pretending to be friends. Y'all pretending to be allies. Y'all showing each other fake love. That's for the slave class. You don't do that shit. You get real with who you are and what you want and what your values are and why those are your values. And you talk at that frequency at all times. You be so honest that you repel anyone who's in misalignment with you. You discuss them before they even enter your field. They look at you and just that's how it's supposed to be. You're not doing anything wrong when you repel people who are going to be a problem in your world at some point anyway. Discuss them early by just being authentic, by being yourself. Sorry, I'm coughing. By being yourself, by saying your true thoughts, by stating your true values, by making your battle cry. Discuss people who are in misalignment with you. The sooner you do it, the better. And you will attract people who are in perfect alignment with your value system and with your vision and your mission. You're not doing anything wrong when you do that. People will kind of see people in the slave class. They think you're doing something wrong by, oh my God, people think this about you. Who the fuck cares? Human bots, indentured servants, disloyal, non-value having human beings who are not loyal to anything, anyone, not even themselves, who lie all day long to themselves and to others, who are playing a little game to make themselves look a certain way. They're uncomfortable and they're in hell in the intimate cocoon of their consciousness. So why are you sacrificing so much of your life experience and humanity for them? Kick their ass out of the kingdom and establish your life based on kingdom principles, the truth of who you are and where you're going and what you want. If you don't state your battle cry, nobody will know it. But there are people who hold a piece to the puzzle of who you are, what you want, and where you're going. So when you promote that, you attract that. When you market that, you attract people who are interested in that. And then you have a vetting process and you build on top of that. You state the truth. You discuss who needs to be discussed. When you don't repel and discuss people who are in misalignment with you early, you know what happens? They get closer and closer to you, and to the point they get in your house. They get all up in your personal life and your personal business, and they get real comfortable. And then they start to cause problems. Y'all start to collide and clash the moment they get too familiar and too comfortable with you. They start to passively aggressively disrespect you, or they just disrespect you bluntly and forcefully. But now they're in your house. Maybe not your physical house, but they're in your world. They're in your reality. All because you didn't have the courage to say the truth and represent the truth early on. That's what happens. So now you got to have a war in your house. Now you have to have a war with someone who done got all up in your life, all up in your network. They done touched it. They done got so many, they all up in your shit now. So now you playing social politics. You politicking in your actual home base with demons. The demons wouldn't have got in if you was telling the truth early on who you are, where you're going, and what you want, and what your personal value system is. Glory. The path to sovereignty is kingdom principles, ladies and gentlemen. The path to sovereignty is kingdom principles. If you don't have kingdom principles, you will never have sovereignty. You will never have freedom. You will never have independence. You will never be able to fully be able to manage your personal expression to the level that you want to. You will always be a slave, even if you don't look like one. You'll mentally be enslaved. There'll literally be people in your world that you do not align with, and they'll be psychologically hijacking you because you fear their judgment. You fear what they might say about you, what they might do, or what they're thinking about you. If you do this, if you do that, if you say this, if you say that, fuck them. Okay, let me go to the Q&A. Okay, thank you all for listening. I appreciate that. I am going to add someone to the Q&A. En, that's the name. I'm going to add you to the Q&A. We can get started. For those of you who enjoyed the lecture, you're more than welcome to leave a comment if you feel led to. So here we go with En, I'm sorry. Hello.
Is it okay for me to
How are
speak?
you? Yes, it is. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you clearly. Thank you.
Excellent. How may I help you today?
So I find myself sort of being like you've described it, like down to a T, where you are a predator in the open market, and I'm being stalked and harassed by this like neighborhood group of people that I don't know. We bought a house in the Midwest, and like almost as soon as we got the house, this all started, and I feel like it was good in the sense that it helped me to learn a lot about myself in a situation like this. I had to face aspects about myself that I've never had to. So I like the person that I am, no matter what the situation I'm facing. But it's been going on for so long. And I guess I don't know what I have to learn anymore. Like, I feel like, did I not learn all the lessons? My main question is, if you find yourself being a predator on the open market, like you say, how does one actively change that situation.
You said if you find yourself being a predator, or if you find yourself
Prey,
being
sorry, being
attacked
prey.
by a
Yeah, there
predator.
we go. Thank you.
Well, you gotta trace backwards. How did you become a prey? You only become a prey because you are not fully submitted to true kingdom principles. Energetically, you will not become a prey if you are submitted to true kingdom principles. So my first question that comes to my mind is, if you are married or if you're part of a culture, a family, an organization, where's the kingdom? Where's the baseline of the kingdom?
I am married. I am from a different country. But like I said, and I did have like a problematic childhood, and the situation did help me face a lot of aspects of myself that that was sort of untrained, unhealthy, and I've grown to face those things, but the situation is still ongoing.
Okay, so tell me, how are these people preying on you? Let's go there. Let's start there. Because what I want to say, you only can end up in that situation if you're not fully submitted to kingdom principles. Because those types of individuals can't get to you if you don't open yourself up to them, and if you have the eyes to know that it's them. But when you are already engaging with that type of spirit, because you didn't catch that this is that type of spirit, you're already engaging with that type of spirit, then they turn up on you, then you were deceived. Why were you deceived? You only can be deceived if you're first self-deceived. So tell me how they're attacking you.
So they follow me everywhere. Every time really racist neighborhood. And personally, like you said, I don't really have any tie, or I don't have an interest in these people. I don't know who they are exactly. But they want very much to be a part of my life. They sort of, I feel like there's a desire to isolate, remove other people that are not in the group so that they can be the people in my group. I don't know if that makes sense.
Okay. So you live in a neighborhood where you are being stalked and harassed. You feel stalked and harassed by these people. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Well, they definitely follow me. I mean, I feel okay. I'm whole. I don't love the situation, but on an internal level, I'm fine. But it's tiring to kind of have people always kind of be knocking on your door energetically like this.
Okay. Have you just straight up told them? Have you established a boundary and said, "Hey, this isn't okay"? Has your husband perhaps done that as well? Expressed in any way a boundary?
Yeah, we've called the police. We have a case going, but it is like a smaller town where even in the police there are people that are in these neighborhood groups where I don't know, like, oh, I feel like there's some old established connections that people have where everybody backs each other up no matter what they're doing. And
Okay. Well, mhm. You are in captivity. You're
true,
energetically
true.
in captivity. So you need to escape captivity at all costs. You need to write down the type of life that you want and what you value and what that looks like for you. And at all costs, you need to pursue that. And you need community. This is not kingdom principles. If you're in this situation, you're exposed and you're open and you're vulnerable. And you only end up in that situation when you're not fully submitted to kingdom principles. So you need to start thinking like a queen. You need to start commanding authority over your space. You need to start standing up for yourself. And if you're in an environment where you're inundated by those types of people and that type of spirit, then that's not the type of environment that you need to be in. That you don't need to, I don't care what the deal was. I don't know if it was a good real estate deal and you just had to move there, or a job offer or whatever. Move out of the neighborhood. Get out. Go where you need to go so you can feel what you need to feel at all costs. You need to feel empowered. You need to wake up feeling empowered and feeling safe. You shouldn't feel like you're in captivity in your own home and in your own neighborhood. So that has to be the priority. There's no other conversation to have. If you're surrounded by people who are stalking you, harassing you, making you feel uneasy, your gut is streaming at you. Your nervous system is telling you, leave. And if you don't leave, something bad is at risk of happening. You're seeing all these red flags, so don't sit there while you see the red flags. Because something is bound to happen when your own spirit, your own soul is saying, we're in misalignment. This is misalignment. So you got to redirect that energy, and you need to do something courageous. There's something else in your field that you wanted to pursue, but you chose not to. That you wanted to do, but you didn't do it. There was another vision that you ignored, or that you swept under the rug, or a project that you stopped doing. And now you're living the consequence of not walking through the door of evolution.
I hear you. Thank you.
You're welcome. I hope you survive your initiation. But now you need to take authority, and you need to say, okay, now I get it, God. This is the consequence when I don't grow, when I don't advance, and I have the opportunity to. And keep that with you close to your heart. When the God gives you an opportunity to evolve and to grow, you better take that opportunity, because there are consequences for not doing that. And you're living those consequences literally in your reality. Remember what I always say. The highest measurement of truth is the reality you are forced to live. You are literally meeting, and I say this with all due respect, you're meeting the cowardness of your own character and the people surrounding you.
Well, this is the first time. This is the first time I've ever had a home that I could call my own. You know, that I paid for, where I, you know, and that's kind of been important for me to sort of stand up for.
I don't know. I mean, if you're surrounded by people who are making you feel uncomfortable and in prison, something ain't right. The energetics are, something's not right. You don't purchase a home in hell. So I don't, if you're surrounded by that and you're telling me the whole town is in on it and they got a group, sell the home. Peace is worth more than that. The first home is peace of mind. The first home is, what's the point of having a home that you paid for? Okay, that's a wonderful accomplishment. But what's the point of having that if you're not at peace? What's the point of having that if your nervous system is jacked up, if your heart is beating fast every time you walk outside, if you have to look over your back all the time, and you're telling me the whole community is in on it? So it's like a network of people against you? So what are your odds of winning that war? What are your odds of, don't stay there out of pride and, well, this is my home, and you're going to be there for 30 years and go through that type of paranoia for all 30 years. There's another home that exists that you love, and that is surrounded by people who share the same values that you have. And it's surrounded by people who will contribute to a reality where you're at peace. But you got to get clear on how you want to feel on the inside, not just what you want to have on the outside.
I get that. Thank you so very much. I appreciate your honesty.
I hope it helps. I just, I hope it helps. And I want it to elevate you. And I just want to shake. I'm trying to shake you so you can just do something about it, and don't wait until something bad happens. You shouldn't feel uncomfortable in your own home, especially if you're paying taxes. You paid for it. You should not be feeling uncomfortable by an entire community of people. So that is spirit's way of saying, this ain't it. This is misalignment. Now, yeah, you can stay and fight it, but are you going to win a war with a whole community when they're all got the same demonic spirit possessing them? So just think about that some more and prioritize your peace. Prioritize the life experience that you want to have in the intimate cocoon of your consciousness. Because you're not just, society tries to teach you to see it as, oh, wow, I bought a home and this is an accomplishment. Great. But you have to look at the entire spectrum of the experience you're having in association with the home, because you didn't just buy a home. You bought the spectrum of that experience. The spectrum of that experience came with that investment. Now analyze if it was a good investment or not based on that truth, based on the truth of what you're actually living, not just the compartmentalize. I got a home. It was this amount. It's a nice home, and I live in this neighborhood, and it looks good. And when family comes over, I enjoy it. Are you really enjoying your investment on a daily basis in the intimate cocoon of your consciousness with everything that comes with that investment? If you're not, make a different decision and make it quickly.
Okay, I have to be courageous. You're right. I have to find some courage to do it. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. God bless you. Okay, that was good. Thank you to that caller for calling in. I appreciate that. That's the only caller right now. This has been Eli Marcus teaching on kingdom principles and about custom making your own kingdom. I hope this live has added value to your life. My goal with Throne Mastermind sessions is to speak to the consciousness of people, and it's especially for leaders, and it's for people to secure their throne, their personal throne in their own reality, to maximize their life experience and to activate their soul path. And as I always say, the reality you are forced to live is the highest measurement of truth.
This Throne Mastermind session has concluded. Visit thronemastermindsessions.com to inquire about membership and to gain access to more Throne Mastermind sessions. All members may now exit the private session.